just coming to you. The idea is coming to you, the plot, the twist, and all of that. Like, I don't have a paper before me. I don't have a chalk to write on the wall. And then you start to write on tissue paper and open your holes together till you put your story. So if you've not read Weep Not Child, it was his debut novel. He wrote quite a lot. Apparently, he was even so anti-colonialist that he didn't want to do much in English. He was more in his local of English. When he came around, I think that had the English version of it. He's an East African author. Kenya is in East Africa. If you don't know that, then I'm sorry. It tells the story of, I will pronounce that name the way I pronounced it in my head when I was reading the book many, many years ago. Njoroge. And I don't know if I got it right. A young Kenyan boy growing up during the Mau Mau uprising, a brutal anti-colonial revolt against rules. The son of a forefather who had big dreams of doing so much with his life. And then they sent him off to school in Kenya, and then tension started, landlessness, poverty, oppression by colonial authority. There was an unrest at that particular point in time, which led to enough instruction and then there's a cerebral war veteran haunted by trauma, eventually joined the Mau Mau fighters also. Colonial violence increased, schools were shut down, Njoroge was forced to abandon his education, his father's beating and humiliated, and the family structure begins to collapse. And Boro avenged his father's suffering by, I will not tell you, is a plot twist, just find out what Boro did in the book to the white settlers at the end of the day. But the book ended in a tragedy anyway. I would not spoil it because it's not my job to spoil it. Go read the book, and we'll say rest in peace, Ngugi wa Thiong'o. I'm not sure I called his name right, but I'm sure he feels the rest in peaceness. That's if people who are dead feel these things. All right, people. 12 minutes after 3. Good afternoon to you. It's May 29. No, it's not Democracy Day. You know that already. Democracy Day has been separated from Inauguration Day, but today is a special day nonetheless. At least you can officially say it is 2 years into the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and look at what he has done. I will not just say what has he done, because apparently they gave us a list of the things that he's done, and then he also articulated in a statement that he put out the things that he's done. We'll focus on that a lot on the show today. And much later at the 4 o'clock hour, would focus on the region. West Africa, ECOWAS at 50. There's so much to talk about the region, coup and more. So that's something to look forward to in a bit. And I've got a certain gentleman with me in the studio today, join the big three. I'm not talking about the man you can see if you're streaming and looking into the studio, but the camera will focus on him pretty soon. We call him Mr. Thompson. I call him Fellow H. Don't ask me what Fellow H means. Don't ask me because I would never tell you. But he's my guest. He's an in-house. He's one of our go-to analysts in-house. And I know you say if he's in-house, why haven't I brought him on the show before? Well, he's on the show today, and I'm super excited to have Thompson join me. Thompson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kim.
How do we even greet today? Do you say happy inauguration day, happy 2 years into Emilokon, happy, what is it?
So today is...
I'll be happy renewed hope. So, 2 fingers in the air.
26th anniversary of civilian administration. 26th today, 1999 till today. So
that's something to look at, a bigger picture.
To actually celebrate. And I know that for some of the younger generation that are, listening now, some of them may not have seen people in the khaki walking on this. Though we still have them. Yes, it's unlike
when they're all
before,
over the place.
Unlike before. And somebody, no matter how we see it, somehow, at least we've been able to, stand on our own as a people. People can have freedom of expression without being shot sporadically. Although we still have some of those things, but we hope to see a better Nigeria going forward. 26-year-old child is no longer a boy.
He's a man.
Yesterday or day before yesterday, we cannot wish such a person Happy Children's Day anymore. So it's something to cherish. So we may not be able to say Democracy Day again because we have a date that is recognized by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. but it's still something to celebrate. 26 years down the line, we've not been interrupted by any military incursion. That's being said.
That's a big deal. Given what is happening in the West African sub-region, it's something worth pausing over and say, okay, we must be doing something at least right, enough for our the democracy not to be interrupted by the military, because it feels like there's been 1,001 reasons why that should have happened.
And we have is a concern in the African countries recently. Between last year or 2 years ago and now, we've been having, this military taking over in some African countries. But I don't think, no matter how good or well-intentioned that is, it's not something that we should encourage. I know that younger people who are in this millennium, between in the 1991 upward, may not be able to understand some of these things. And Kim, that will bring me back to the story you started with of the literal icon. Just was it yesterday or so? I was reading. I was going through some things, and I said, "This is somebody who is passionate about his country, about writing." You remember yesterday, I think they wrote WAEC English yesterday. You remember we were having a discussion about subjects in secondary school.
We're talking about how difficult chemistry was.
How difficult it was to even pass WAEC in those days. I learned that there were issues yesterday in English.
It's one of the stories for us to look at. But go ahead.
So, that being said, this was a writer, and then who was passionate about his country, he has to join a fight. I wonder what children who are less than 30 in Nigeria, who they will see as a role model, the reading culture in our country is actually going so low, to the point that a lot of people read most of what shaped them, they read on the internet, which may not be the true picture of of what such a person represents. If I won't be surprised in the next, except something drastic is done, I won't be surprised in the next 10 years if you mention Professor Wole Soyinka, and somebody who is in the mid-30s will say, who is that?
I pretty much doubt that. I pretty much doubt they will say, who is that? But perhaps they will not know one single literary material that
he wrote. Those on the social media, especially on X, between 2023 election, who had seen a lot of back and forth, how statesmen were being disrespected, might stumble on things he stood for or what he stood against, and the younger people who never knew his impact, in this nation when it comes to human rights and fighting for the common man on the street. So many people may not know about Chino Achebe. Many people may not know about other people again, because history was at some point taken out of our culture in this country, out of our curriculum in this country. And I learned the government, even the government between the current one and this current one, they said they brought it back. And I think that it should be something that all of us should go through.
Indeed, should go through. All right, when you talk about Wole Soyinka, that little Gen Zs are still saying, where's Wole Soyinka? Was he not there when they were doing Occupy Nigeria? They will know him. They perhaps will not remember any of the stories, any of the play, any of the books or material that he's put out. But beyond, being a Nobel laureate, he's also been a political active individuals that they always call out him, even though he's pretty much old and taking his time on a lot of things now. So, the president did put a statement out. Now, a lot of people expecting an elaborate broadcast of some sort. A statement was put out, and he did articulate his administration's reform to restore and reinvigorate our national economy, strengthening our social fabric as a strong, united country. And they went ahead to thank fellow citizens like you for unrelenting support and believe in the grand vision that we share to uplift our nation and renew our collective hopes and inspiration. And it says we're halfway through the journey that began 24 months ago today. offer our administration the opportunity to share again how far we've gone and our progress in steering our country along the critical path of socio-economic development. Under the Renewed Hope agenda, administration pledged to tackle economic stability, improve security nationwide, reduce corruption, reform governance, and lift people out of poverty. Now, while implementing the reform necessary to strengthen our economy and deliver shared prosperity, we remain honest by acknowledging some of the difficulties experienced by our compatriots and families. We do not take your patience for granted. I must reinstate that the only alternative to the reform our administration initiated was a fiscal crisis that would have bred runaway inflation, external debt default, crippling fuel shortage, a plunging naira, and economy in a free fall. Despite the bump in the... I love the use of euphemism. They just simplify it. You don't just pack that punch. You say, despite the bump in the cost of living, we have made undeniable progress. When I read this the first time and he said, despite the bump, it doesn't like small bump.
Just like to jump.
He said, Mr. President, who wrote this thing for you? Despite the bump, he said, if this thing is a bump, I don't know what a major hassle and hurdle is at this point in time. Inflation has begun to ease with rice prices and other staples declining. Oil and gas sector is recovering. Rig-count are up to 400% in 2025 compared to 2021. And over $8 billion in new investment has been committed. And we've stabilized the economy. We're better positioned for growth and prepared to withstand global shock at this point in time. And it was quick also to mention deficit narrowed sharply from 5.4% of GDP in 2023 to 3.0% in 2024. We've achieved this through improved revenue generation, greater transparency in government finances. In the first quarter of the year, we recorded over 6 trillion naira in revenue. And you know what? The cable did something and a breakdown of the president at 2, where they looked at over 900,000 beneficiaries of presidential loan and grant scheme, over 300,000 beneficiaries of student loan scheme, over $10 billion forex debt cleared, over 440 ongoing road projects, including over 2,700 kilometers of superhighways, and 3.84% GDP growth in the quarter 4 2024, highest in 3 years. 70,000 naira minimum wage, well, that is always going to come up. And over 13,500 terrorists have been eliminated, over $50 billion in new foreign direct investment commitments. Net foreign exchange reserve up from 3.99 billion in 2023 to $23.11 billion in 2024, and over $8 billion in new oil and gas investment unlocked, 4 new landmark tax bill, 5 new regional development commission, and over $800 million realized in processing investment in solid mineral in 2024. And it's telling you, in spite of the little bump, we've been able to do all of this. But, aside from, I expected that they were going to put out their best foot forward. They're going to put out some of their achievement forward. But in all honesty, how are we going to rate 2 years in renewed hope? Does the hope need renewing, or are we just being stubborn on hope?
So the reality is that the politicians, we are two sets of human beings when it comes to politics, and they govern whatever it is. The people in power,
those who are governing, and those who are governed.
We are two sets of people. They tell us they know what we are going through. They tell us they see what we see, but they don't feel it. But power is designed that way. Especially in our own kind of democracy. If you are in power, you are in power. You may see us on daily basis, at least if it's passing through our office is close to the road. If you stand on the road, you will see us. We may not see him because it's in a tinted vehicle. So when they say a bump, let me tell you a scenario. The little bump is when I stand on this, our junction, and I want to take vehicle to where I live before. And before 29th of May 2023 was 200 naira. Now, that little bump is 800 naira now. You see the little bomb.
Yeah.
How little it is.
It doesn't sound little to one who has to adjust to that.
So the little bomb was that I think the price of PMS was around maybe 200 and something, less than 300. And after it has gone close to 1,000 something, came down, is still around 900. That's how little the bump is. So, but that being said, if you want to look at where we are coming from, many Nigerians will not believe that the government has done much. And one of the things that this government and the government before it has been guilty of is the fact that they've not been able. They have not been. Now I see little departure from the last administration. Little, maybe in the last 1 year, in putting out their information, is that they are more reactionary than being proactive when it comes to putting out what they are doing out there for people to see. They wait until the opposition, punch something, and then they want to bring it out and say, this is what we are doing. Nobody will take you serious after I've deflated your tire and you are now saying, no, it's not like that. I do it this way.
Yeah.
So, but the reality is that are there things government has done in the last 2 years that is in the positive?
Oh, but of course,
Fine.
there definitely
Yes.
would be quite a
But
lot.
are there things that the government has not also done so well? These are some of the things that we expected them. Government will not tell you that we have not done well.
I don't know of any government around the world that
none.
would be quick to tell you only the things they are not doing right. They will definitely put their best
They will
forward.
always, in fact,
And then
it
find
is
a way
when
to
you
downplay.
challenge the things they said they have done that they will tell you that, yes, this place we did this and we meant it for good. But so let's start from the basis. May 29, 2023, fuel subsidy is gone, was announced.
Yeah.
There were no structure in place. I think anybody who has sat on this seat before now have said many things about that. It should have been well thought out. Was it necessary? If you hear many economics who have talked about it, you know that it is necessary, that we couldn't have survived as a nation without taking that out. But as at when was it supposed to have been done or how it's going to be implemented, policy pronouncement is just like saying a head of state just declared that tomorrow, if I see you outside, shoot aside. The military era. It's just what he did. And even people that had reserve, Nigerians typically, when prices go up, it never returns. People that bought petrol at a lower price, that immediately the following day after the pronouncement was made, they hiked the price. All the prices of food in the market went up. So we are the one who bear the consequence of the pronouncement of the government. What has government done to reduce some of those things? These are some of the things we highlight as we go on. But if government has done well at all, yes, they have done certain things that were okay. But what have they not done enough? We also look at the issue of, we'll take it segment by segment. We'll talk about security, economy, we'll talk about education, we'll talk about health and some of the other things.
Yeah, I mean, just before we start to break it down, I'm a little curious to get your opinion also on the 2 years.
I would like to ask, you said something that the government has done some things that we are okay. And I'm wondering, what are those things that they have done which we are okay?
So in your opinion, nothing is okay?
In my opinion, the only thing I would say that I'm okay with is the work of Wike. That is the only thing I can say that me, myself, I'm seeing. Aside that, there is nothing else because the little bump, we are saying little bump, is having a lot of negative impact on the citizens, which all of us know.
So it's only the infrastructural work that you're seeing that
is just
every other thing.
The fuel prices is just causing a lot of havoc to the pockets and survival.
I mean, it doesn't look like people have adjusted to subsidy is gone, even
lot of people are
because
yet
of the
to
impact
adjust.
it's having.
A lot of people are
Yeah.
able to adjust.
Yeah. All right. So looking at the bit by bit, the renewed hope agenda, they said they were going to tackle economic instability. improve security nationwide, reduce corruption, reform governance, and lift people out of poverty. Let's start with the economic instability. Because, as much as the president will tell you that our economy is recovering, the projections are looking good, the average person who you run into or you talk with on the street will tell you, as long as it does not translate to improvement in my personal economy, then nothing is improving.
True. So on the economy, for example, we know what some of the, parameters that determine what an improvement in an economy of a nation is. If I tell you the three negative impact of this government, the negatives, I will start with the negative before the positives. First, subsidy removal, floating of the naira, of the currency, and then what's the other one?
Those are the two big ones.
Those are the two big ones. Now, for a regular man on the street doesn't see dollar. It's none of his business whether some people were hoarding the dollars or not. But what we don't know on the street is the fact that whatever happens to the dollar has a negative impact, positive or negative impact on us. For example, you want to buy a phone, you want to buy whatever you need to buy, because we don't produce a lot in this nation. By, floating the dollar, the currency, automatically we affect
the naira.
The whatever you are buying in the market. We are in a country where almost next to nothing. Don't let me say next to nothing, because people are actually producing. It's just that we have not produced to the point of being self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So
we're not even anywhere close to it.
Rice, which is a staple food in Nigeria, a lot of it is being imported into the country. You have to change your naira to dollar to trade in an international market. So it will affect the clothes we wear. A lot of the fabrics are imported. Even some people even still buy already made goods. So it will affect almost everything. So floating of the naira had a negative impact on the economy. Then the fuel subsidy is the only thing. Okay, the third point I wanted to make is the electricity tariff. Now, the
ban B's and the tariff,
industry is one of the things that even whether you have money or you don't have money, it will touch you in one way or the other. If you don't have a car, you take a bike from one place to the other. Imagine a place you take 100 naira before, you wake up the following day, they tell you it's 400 naira. So negative impact. So like that, it cascades down. And immediately, the people who are selling goods and service, they hear that government has increased the pump price. Naturally, you don't need to hear any other news.
No, they didn't even wait for government announcement of increasing pump price. The minute subsidy is gone, every other thing responded to it.
Responded to that. And it had a lot of negative impact. And then to rub it on our face was when the Minister of Power came and said we were going to increase tariff when we are yet to survive the two that happened in the first place. Now, whether the power has actually increased or not, yes, in some area you can say there has been significant increase in generation and transmission. But affordability is another thing. Where you could survive on 5,000 naira tariff for a month before,
not anymore.
20,000 naira could not do it. So that's the negative part. The positive part is the fact that, yes, the price of petrol has been going on and off. The CNG, the fear that it came with, a lot of people were not willing to do it before.
Their fares are still even legit to date, because how many of the spots? I remember Ernest was here yesterday and somebody asked him, you're not talking about CNG so much anymore. He said, because we still have problem with having enough spot for people to top up.
So
at this point in time,
that's as good as that policy is. I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and I discussed with him about this thing. I said, people are converting their vehicles, and he said the thing is spoken Yoruba. That thing can have a negative impact, because I wouldn't be the one speaking on behalf of the government. I'm not in government, for example. Whatever policy that you are bringing forward, you should be able to tell people in different languages, this CNG, this is how you will do it. This is how it's going to impact what you are doing. These are the benefits. How much is the, what's it called, kg of CNG gas compared to a liter of petrol? How much you are going to be able to save? You didn't do that. You are waiting for the opposition to come and tell you that you are not doing anything, and then you now come up. Nobody will believe you. So the CNG is a good initiative, but what they've not been able to do, which I think that CNG actually came fully, at least kickstarted fully last year, which was 1 year ago. Now, what they've not been able to do
But do we have the buses, the one that the government promised?
They said there are buses in some places, and then I learned there are buses, CNG buses in Bega and Area 1. I've seen boarded one.
I've seen one along Lube Road.
Yes, they are.
So if it's scanty and fan in between, it means not even sufficient.
So they even have the smaller ones, that they crashed according to them, the report I read, even from Area 1 to Gwagwalada, I think it used to be 1.5, and they have the ones that will take you around 900, 1,000 or thereabout, which I cannot. Buses. Yes. Which I cannot verify.
Can you confirm that? Have you ever
which
applied
I
any
cannot.
of it?
I used to take that route before, but for a long time I've not gone through, which I cannot verify. So I won't speak on behalf of the government. But government, that's a good initiative. But government have to make the conversion kits affordable. As at today, I still had a discussion with my friend. Now he came back, he wanted to do conversion, and they said it's around 750. How many people can afford 750?
750.
Yes, 750,000 naira.
That's a lot.
So there was a time, I learned that is off now. I don't know how true that is. I don't want to be speaking for government as if I'm speaking for them. There was a time that they were doing conversion for free for public transporters. Free.
What time was that?
This year, I even heard it in a public vehicle. The person by himself said he came to along this Lugbe.
I hear for public vehicle, not one that we can verify.
I can't verify. That's what I'm saying. I can't verify it. But they said, they have association, they have union, that if you go through their union, even this guy that I was talking to, at least has been able to give me a lot of information about it, that you have to be a member of a registered union for the transporters.
It's possible.
Then they do it for them for free. But how many times did they let the public know? I'm sure there are people in the transport sector.
Like you said, it was not for the entire public, it was for the organized group of transporters.
So that's
perhaps
a good initiative. If you want to talk about, that's on the economy. We are discussing economy.
Yeah, I mean, economy, you've touched on some of those salient points, really, the impact of the subsidy removal and all of that, even though they tried to increase minimum wage after a drag, but we see that it made absolute no impact whatsoever in the purchasing power of the average Nigerian, because what's the percentage of people who are really in organized government sector, and how much is it compared to what inflation has dealt on our currency to say it would improve anything? And then, even though they tried with some tax reforms and all of that, everything is still, perhaps it might still need more time to crystallize properly, and we'll get to see the impact, because we're still borrowing.
Yeah, the tax reform has not really come into full effect, because I think, was it yesterday, it has not been transmitted to the president for assent yet. It's still in the National Assembly. Remember the last week when they had a meeting with the APC people, stakeholders came together. The president.
No, but the president did mention that in his statement, talked about the reforms in tax. So even though it has not come into, but the fact that he mentioned it is what
definitely, and almost major stakeholders, they've been able to, iron out the gray areas where people had fears that it's going to put some people in disadvantage. All of them have been able, the region, all of them have been able to agree that this will even put us in the right direction. But it has not been, implemented since.
No, it can't be implemented because there's still some other areas.
But I'm sure that part of the projection of what they are to get has been factored into the 2025 appropriation, which is already in effect. The president was asking them, bring the bill. He's waiting, he's eager to sign it, because even the governors and some of the stakeholders in the economic sector said this will have a positive impact.
All right. Well, let's move because of time. He also did say renewed hope is about improving security nationwide. That is still pretty much a problem.
Security.
Looking at what the renewed hope promised Nigerians. He inherited, a country that was grappling with so much insecurity at the time. And you want to look at the measures they've put in and how much change we've seen. Because under the renewed hope government in the past 24 months, we've seen renewed onslaught of Boko Haram in spite of the effort of the military. Honest to God, they started off, it felt like they kind of like swept particularly the Northwest, banditry and all of that. But it's still pretty much a concern for us. Boko Haram is rearing its head. We still have pockets of violence going on in north-central parts of the country. Plateau State is still fresh on our mind. Benue State, they're having a meeting with Mayati Allah to say what exactly is going on because of how people are being killed. And not talk about the Northwest, where it just feels like we put them at the back end of the news, but the threat are still pretty much there.
So on security, is almost like a little bit above 50% raising on my own part, in the sense that even before the last administration left, we still had, in the Northeast, we had reduction. Since the introduction of Tucano jets. You remember that when they bought the Tucano jets, there were issues about they cannot use it against the banditry. The
agreement was using it in a confined region.
So, when government do businesses or when they are desperate to do certain things, we don't pay attention to details. When you go, you want to buy a weapon and you say you are going to use it against an insurgent, a Boko Haram. Now, Boko Haram, immediately they introduced the Tucano. Actually, it worked well in the Northeast. Then the issue of banditry came up. Up to today, banditry has not been declared as a terrorist organization in Nigeria. They have not been declared. You can check that
officially. I know there was one time the court proscribed, and it was to be gazetted as terrorists. They were profiled.
I'm not sure. That was why they couldn't use Tucano jets, and then they had to have a conversation with US where they purchased the Tucano from. Along the line, if you actually look at it in the last 24 months, in the last 18 months, the activities of Boko Haram reduced drastically in the Northeast until recently that they started again. But in the Northwest, in the last 1 year, was becoming another terrorist attack on daily basis. In Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Kebbi, all the way. And it was becoming, you remember the kidnapping where they would kidnap people from Niger State, take them all the way through how many states to get to Kebbi. They would go and rescue them in Kebbi. That reduced. But until recently, when we now begin to hear the uproar. And you remember that before Buhari left, the issue, banditry was even spreading as far as Ondo, Ekiti, Osun State. You remember Igboho, all of them because of the
Yoruba Nation agitation.
Because of that, banditry.
It was also a function of how the previous government handled it.
Yes. So along the line, it reduced gradually, until except few places. You remember at least relative peace in Kaduna, relative peace in Jos at some point until recent attacks were coming up.
The thing
Jos
is Thompson,
and Benue.
Thompson, let me jump
Jos
in
and
here.
Benue, yeah.
I'm always very careful when we say it improved, because it's always been, if you've read the pattern of how we have this insurgency and ethno-religious crisis in the country, there's a period of calm and then there's a period of upheaval where it just blows completely out of the water.
The mood. They read the politics.
Something triggers something and it happens.
They read the politics, they watch the mood, the body language, From 2015, we were told about body language. When they see the body language of who is in power, they want to know whether they are to strike or not. But in reality, at some point, we had a little bit of respite. But now Benue has not really, whether last year, 2 years ago, there has been consistent, in some parts, and then Plateau too. You cannot be too sure. One day it is in Barkin-Ladi, another day is in Bokos, another day is in another place. So the North Central, even Nasarawa here, close to FCT, North Central is a place that a lot of things are happening. But in the Southeast, relatively, you didn't hear of what we used to hear, aside the sit at home, where they will say they attack military here, they attack some people and all that. That has reduced drastically. South was a place that almost became a peaceful place. South and Southwest a little bit, even before the government came into power. So Southeast was purely ESN people doing their things. We didn't have an external, I'm not sure of an external person from another place coming to disturb the peace in that area. But that, at least to an extent, has reduced. So I won't give them so much of a pass mark, because we are not safe as a nation yet. And government should know that without peace, nothing can be achieved.
I mean, development right.
People cannot go to their farm. If we are complaining about increase in prices of food, there's no farm, there's no nation. You can't buy everything that you need. You can't buy all the food that you need in your country. Countries that we aspire to be like, US spend a lot of money. They import food, and they also, incentivize the farmers to go to farm. So until we are able to secure our borders, until we are able to secure our farmers, we'll still continue to complain. It's not enough for my brother here to say the only person he rates is Wike. You are only seeing the city center. Do you know there are farms in FCT? There are places that people are afraid of going in this FCT.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
So that's where the food comes from, actually.
Because there are so many of those things that we are not seeing that are also good. But I wouldn't.
But you didn't see it initially when I asked you.
I wouldn't really say that, because I myself, there is not much that I've seen. Even Wiki also has its bad sides when it comes to these things that he's doing, like the ground rent and all that. The way he's planning to even hike it is something that we also have another negative impact on the people. Now, talking about the renewed hope, I'm not even sure of the government's renewed hope, because now it's becoming confusing to me to know that the government is not even the one renewing the hope. There seems to be no renewed hope on the side of the government, but the banditry are now the one renewing their strategy to be attacking and causing more mayhem to the people of the citizens of the country.
His opinion there.
You see,
hope is not renewed, but now, renewed insurgency.
renewed insurgency.
All right.
Now, about the production and all that, it's so surprising to see that the government are not really doing much to encourage people doing production. You see people producing like kunu, zobo, all those minions, little things to go and sell. And now the government is now bringing up policy to chase people away from hawking and marketing their little things.
The fact that we want improvement does not mean we would allow some bit of chaos, because everybody wants
that one is included. But at least they should, instead of chasing them that way, catching and arresting them, they should also bring up a policy to help them increase what they are doing.
Okay. Your concern is a completely different one altogether.
Before we move out from economy, and also there has been an improvement in generation, or is it oil production in the last years. There has been an improvement. You may not believe it, but the people who read it or study day to day.
Keep talking. I want you to learn before I jump on.
There has been an improvement. I think before the last administration, we were told that we're not even up to 1,000. The current, if I'm correct,
not up to 1,000 barrels per day.
Around 1,000 plus. But at the moment, I think we're We are not up to 2 million yet. Sorry, we are not. We're about 1 million thereabout. But at the moment, we're around 1.5 to 1.7. The government is aiming at 2.
Are we talking about production or consumption?
No, generation, production, oil production per day.
Was this not a country once upon a time we used to do 2.1 million barrels per day? So if we've not exceeded that ceiling, we've achieved once upon a time. Let's not talk about improvement.
Okay, that's where these are areas government actually generates money from.
Do you know, Thompson, there's something interesting going on in this country. I remember during Fashola, super minister, where he was talking about this is what we've generated. This is what we can distribute. And I recall, because I was healthy and alive when Fashola was around.
You are still.
And then he said 8,000 megawatts generation. And then we're getting a new minister come out. And then he's going back to promise me less than what someone has told me we've achieved before. So now if you tell me it has improved based on this new one, and you guys want to run Nigerians crazy with all of these promises and counter promises that are just not it at the end of the day.
If on the side of the government is an argument, is a valid argument to them. But to us Nigerians, it is not valid until we see you exceeding. You scored because everybody in that class has been scoring 50. And you score 50. Then they've been scoring 50 before. Along the line, something happened. They say technical glitch, and you now score. They've been scoring 49. Now you now score 50.
It's still basic average.
You are still on the same level.
Exactly.
So to us, there's no improvement. But to government, because they can see the revenue increase based on what they met and where they are now, to them is an increase. And infrastructure is also part of the economy.
All right. Because of time, we need to open up the phone lines. We've touched on some, but we've not looked at the aspect of, because they promised to reduce corruption also. And one isn't sure what the clear-cut picture is on dealing with corruption. At least, we Bab, aside from the CBN governor that is answering questions or collected his duplexes and all the Yahoo boys that were clearing. Yes, it's going after mutilation of Naira. But, it'd be nice for you to point that out also. But let's hear some of the callers, their take on the stories we've looked at so far. 0700 951 0000. Hello.
Hello, Ed King.
Yes, you're welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's me, calling you from Guarimpa.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, our visitor there, I agree to you.
I agree to you, sir.
Yeah, when he was talking about engine and about the engine balls and all that, nobody is talking about the product. It's not about the bus or the vehicle which are being converted. It's all about the product. Even if they converted the whole vehicle in Abuja without the product, you can't see any improvement in the transportation. So we should talk about the product. You go to gas station, see the level of queue there. You can't see gas by. You waste your whole day queuing. These are the things they're supposed to make available first before talking about conversion. But they are not. They are just chasing shadow, and they want to see the impact of it in the transportation. It doesn't work like that.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear another caller. Hello.
Hello, Kimberly.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're just a bucker from Gwagwalada.
Go ahead, sir.
Corruption of managing our dilapidated refineries, not working at optimal capacity. Some people making a humongous amount of money corruptly in that sector. And it is criminal for somebody to be selling fuel in Nigeria per liter beyond 300 naira. So we are talking of renewal. Which hope? Which hope was renewed? It was dashed. Several people's hope were dashed. They raised our hope and they dashed it. They told us with the removal of subsidies, they will build refineries. They will have more than enough capital to do public services. But today they are telling public services is a free money. They are telling us free money no longer exists. but they can subsidize their capital needs, buying of yacht, building of mansion, presidential mansion, doing things at the downtrodden masses expenses.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. All right, let's hear this caller. Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah, Kim, good afternoon.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, this is Chigo.
Chigo, go ahead.
Yeah, conversion. I went to convert my own to CNG, and the thing is 1 million plus 1,200,000. 1,200,000. I said, okay, can you do it under the car? They said no. I have to be on boot. I said
you
no.
Want them to put a gas. You want them to put a gas under your car, my brother. You know they even fear for your life. You don't see the risk in that.
Hold on now. Hold on. If they make see other ones that are in the rest, where are they putting it? Where are they putting it now? Although what they don't do is that because of our soil, that they cannot state anything will spoil the cylinder. So that is it. It's not because of any other thing. Say for now, the federal government must ask them to start putting it here. So but the amount is, I'm telling you, is 1,200,000. I said, okay, bye. But the issue is that where are the stations? This one at the Kopuana, I see a lot of food go there. I do for over how many hours? Because of it. Top of achievements, what did the government have achieved? Nothing.
All right.
To me.
All right.
I'm not seeing any achievements. If I guess I've said someone, let us hear the one that I said the government have achieved. Thank you.
You just mentioned the CNG that you jumped on at the end of the day. Hello. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, I greet you. Madam Abubakar, I greet you very well. Nothing, I greet you, Sarasi, everybody, and my people in the studio. This is the Namabushi. How are you doing now?
I'm fine and well, Elder. Good to hear from you again.
I've been listening sometimes. I'm trying not to even call and listen to people and laugh. How many times have I been telling you hope? I should not be telling us that there is no hope. No, not naturally no hope here. The hope is completely dead right now. Nigeria is in a hopeless situation.
No, now. Oh, no, sir. It cannot be. If it was a hopeless situation, you would know. It's not a hopeless situation. That's why we're still having conversations about things.
Dr. Mojid was in the building yesterday. Who do we support now? Is it Tinubu? We never spent 2 years. We see billboard every year.
We're not talking about. Don't worry your head. First, we're evaluating the 2 years of him enough to even know what to do. Don't worry your pretty head.
You see, these people, they never achieve anything. Is it the rice that we are buying? What thing is enter? The rice is 30,000, 31,000. Now rice is 80-something thousand. Is it petrol that we are buying now at the rate of 900, 1,000 naira? The CNG is not even available. I'm telling you the fact. Go and see queue. Go to airport where you see people spend 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Where you can buy CNG for 3,000 naira.
All right,
Elder. They never achieve anything. It's backward.
All right, Elder. Thank you very much. And Neme Inasokoro says Nigerians are too wise to be deceived again. I want to disagree with your guest on the issue of subsidy removal being inevitable, because I can give plausible and actionable reasons why maintaining the subsidy is possible. Unfortunately, this government and the past have refused to think outside the box to plug loopholes that are inherent in maintaining the subsidy. The best thing the president and legislature did was to allocate needless largesse to themselves immediately they entered office, which added in plunging our economy. For emphasis, the best this government of APC can do is to revert our economy to pre-May 29, 2023. Any other person telling us something different is simply living in delusion, which is synonymous with this APC party. And, okay, I will leave the rest out, Neme. Your point noted. Joy is seated for the news. As you can see, if you're live on Facebook and YouTube, leave your comment there. We'll read them later. Stay with us.
The hub for information,
current affairs, and more.
The president used his last Democracy Day address to talk about several issues, including security.
It is this same government that...
This is Nigeria Info.